Over the next half hour, we're going to be probing into the life of a man that has been described by the Guinness Book of World Records as the most successful entertainer ever. I'm going to be taking you on a magic mystery tour through the life of this man who is undoubtedly the king of pop, Mr. Michael Jackson. The story begins way back in Gary, Indiana, where a young Michael lived in a small house with his 5 brothers, 2 sisters, and mum and dad.
We grew up in a small house in Gary, Indiana as kids, only 2 bedrooms. I wouldn't even say not even 1,000 square feet.
We started out as a unit, a family unit. It's sort of like a tree. The root of it all is the Jackson 5.
ABC and 1, 2, 3.
ABC and 1, 2, 3.
From his humble beginnings as a young Jackson, Michael went on to discover fame and fortune.
You're always running here and there. Share that beat of love.
And so impressed were Michael's neighbours from Indiana that they decided to honour him in a very, very special way.
Hello, I'm Scott King, Mayor of Gary, Indiana. The city has obtained the rights, if you will, to the 2300 Jackson Street birthplace. We're developing that in conjunction with the theme park. The Rockin' Robin roller coaster is certainly in the vision.
My name is J. Randy Taraborelli, and I've written a bestseller about Michael Jackson, which we called Michael Jackson, the Magic and the Madness, because certainly there has been a great deal of madness in Michael Jackson's life. But besides that, of course, he's got a very magical story.
Where would Michael be without his adoring fans? For those that need their Michael fix and just can't wait for the next world tour, there's always the annual Michael Jackson convention. Although looking like Jacko can sometimes be a frightening experience.
I think with Michael Jackson, he's such a great performer and such a great person. My friends used to say to me, why don't you go around looking like Michael Jackson? Because people impersonate him on television, and they said to me that, you know, I look more like the star than they did.
My name's Gloria Haydock. I run MJ News International, the British Michael Jackson fan club. Today is the 7th annual Michael Jackson Day here in London, and we hold these parties each year so that all the fans around the country can get together to celebrate Michael's music with fans from around the world.
My name is E. Casanova, and I'm here to salute Michael Jackson. I'm not obsessed with Michael Jackson. I don't go around just every day impersonating Michael Jackson. I don't think I'm him. I don't want to be him. I happen to have a God-given talent to be able to look like the biggest selling artist in the world. I think if anybody else had the opportunity like I do to do it, they would.
Much has been made of Michael Jackson's use of plastic surgery over the years. In fact, his first encounter with the surgeon's knife came after he tripped during a dance routine on stage and broke his nose. Since then, Jacko's never looked back.
Michael really didn't have any intention of having his nose done until it had to be done by necessity. And then when that happened and he saw the way it looked, it started, you know, a trend. And since that time, he's had, you know, clearly, you know, quite a bit of plastic surgery.
It's his face, he can do what he wants with it.
Same as me having my hair cut.
Just stop dogging me around.
They have plastic surgeons in this world for people who feel that they want to make corrections. And I feel that there's nothing wrong with that. He's very happy with it himself, and that's what's most important. But you're never going to stop people from talking and saying this and that. So, but he's happy, and he's my brother. I love him very much.
My name is Firoz Nimachwala. I'm a counselor, a psychotherapist, and a group worker. Well, I think he's a very creative person. And he might be thinking, why shouldn't the body be a screen, a canvas on which I can behave creatively?
I think he's just fascinated by creation, and I think he just wanted to create a totally new person. And I think he genuinely thought the plastic surgery was making him more beautiful.
Michael has said he's not had much of it, but I mean, you know, it doesn't take a genius to see that the man in the mirror is sculpted.
Michael's plastic surgery doesn't play any part whatsoever in a fan's life, and they really don't acknowledge it in any way.
Now, Michael Jackson swears that he's only ever had 2 operations, and they were just to restructure his nose. However, his Italian fan Mario has had plenty more than just 2 operations, all so that he can look exactly like his hero.
Mi chiamo Marco Ricci, ho 24 anni, vivo a Roma, sono il socio di Michael Jackson.
They think I'm not enough as I am, but if I can look and sound like him, then I become very special.
Veramente ero stufo della mia identità, del mio aspetto fisico, dei miei problemi, e diciamo per lasciarli alle spalle ho deciso di somigliare a Michael Jackson.
The obsessive fan pays a price in their own life.
Sono sottoposto a 8 interventi di chirurgia plastica. Diciamo che mi sono ritoccato il naso 4 volte, poi ho ricorso al lifting, mi hanno messo una protesi al mento, mi hanno rifatto il taglio per gli occhi. Il nuovo intervento dovrei alzare un po' la punta e fare degli innessi intorno alla punta per appunto migliorare la risposta.
The most bizarre revelation was that Michael has vitiligo, a chronic skin disorder which is slowly turning him white.
Only Michael's doctor and Michael Jackson really know the truth of that, and a lot of people have felt that Michael has purposely bleached his skin to be lighter, and there's a lot of speculation as to why he would do that.
He made himself weird looking. I mean, he's an amazing, amazing creation. I mean, you know, he's almost like, he's like a Dr. Frankenstein who's created his own pop monster.
Now, there can be no denying that Michael's contribution to the music world has been absolutely enormous. But at the same time, Michael, he is responsible for some of the larger fashion faux pas of the 20th century. No, I'm not talking about the black shoes and white socks, not even the spangly trousers, not the ludicrous sequined glove, not the absurd makeup, not the black gloves. I am, of course, talking about the mask, which, by the way, he was wearing at the birth of his son.
No, we don't wear masks. We just put on like pale makeup and blacken out our eyes. We're supposed to be zombies, yeah.
You know it's there, getting low night. You're fighting for your life inside a killer.
One Michael fad that has never caught on is his oxygen chamber, a machine that Michael is convinced will help him live till he's 150.
If you're really, really interested in changing the way you look and living a long time and being extremely healthy, and if you can afford large cylinders of oxygen, why not spend time in an oxygen tent?
Just because you read it in a magazine or see it on a TV screen, don't make it factual, and it doesn't, as Michael Jackson says, so don't believe everything you read in the paper.
I don't care what you talking about, baby.
Every time you read a story about Jackson, it involves something bizarre or sensational. I mean, you've only got to look at stories that he was sleeping in an oxygen chamber, that he wanted to buy the remains of the Elephant Man, that he bathed in mineral water, that he bought £50,000 worth of toys, you know, in an afternoon shopping. He is the most written about pop star that there has been in the history of pop music.
I mean, it may be that he had no interest in oxygen tanks at all, but he thought this would be a rather good wheeze to get talked about. So let's put this one out for the press.
He is the one who almost encourages the hype. So in many ways you can't blame the newspapers when they think, well, we can write anything about Jackson.
We've always been taught if you want publicity, work for it.
Just leave me alone.
The guy worked for him as a chef, and he said that he once caught Michael Jackson in the middle of the room surrounded by confetti, and the confetti was of dollar bills, and apparently Jackson had torn up £50,000 worth of dollar bills and just flung it in the air because he liked the shape and the colour.
We know that like all the rumors and stuff about him is not true because we know the person.
He just never really handled, and still doesn't handle, that star thing the way it might be better to handle it. He takes it all very personally and intensely, and he's so shy and so vulnerable still today.
Michael has only ever been linked to 3 women. Brooke Shields, who always claimed that their relationship was purely platonic, Lisa Marie Presley, who divorced him after 20 months together after claiming that they also never had sex, and nurse Debbie Rowe.
Hi, I'm Kurt Loder with an MTV News Brief. The mercurial Michael Jackson got married again on Thursday at midnight local time in Sydney, Australia, where he's currently on tour. The lucky lady is Debbie Rowe, who's pregnant with Jackson's first child and whom the singer first met 15 years ago when she worked for his Los Angeles dermatologist. Rowe has reportedly been married once before. Jackson was divorced earlier this year by pop culture heiress Lisa Marie Presley. To mark the marital event, a Jackson publicist issued a press release calling on the world press to be nice, quoting Jackson himself as saying, quote, "Please respect our privacy and let us enjoy this wonderful and exciting time."
Since tying the knot, Michael and Debbie have had a child together.
The story's interesting for a number of reasons. One is because the woman claims that she actually had sex with Michael Jackson, and for the other reason that it didn't work out, she wasn't able to conceive, and so it's happened by artificial insemination.
Apparently, Jacko paid Debbie $1.25 million to have his baby. She also gets $250,000 for every year that they stay married. And in the likely event of the two divorcing, Jacko will pay her off a whacking $2.5 million to keep their son.
His marriage to Lisa Marie Presley was basically a sham, was basically a stunt, it's basically a way of making sure that his career didn't go downhill. His ex-wife, Lisa Marie Presley, is going to get married again to her ex-husband, Danny Keough, with Michael Jackson as the best man. You could not make these kind of stories up, really. Zebra doesn't go...
Wondering what the Jacko connection is? Tune in right after the break to find out. Probably the closest relationship Michael ever had was with his pet baby chimp, Bubbles. They shared hotel suites, designer clothes, and designer meals together. Apparently, Bubbles even attended private school to improve his communication skills. Sadly, however, the friendship was doomed to failure as Bubbles reached adulthood. Apparently nowadays, you can still see Bubbles because he's currently residing in the Los Angeles State Zoo.
Why does Michael Jackson identify with animals? I believe it's because he really wanted to marry Bubbles. Maybe because they don't question, maybe because they accept him at face value, maybe because when they see his face, a zebra doesn't go, ah!
The crazy goings-on behind the scenes of Michael Jackson's life have, for many years, been just sheer madness.
And apart from his love of the animal kingdom, Michael also has a passion for practical jokes, particularly when he's with his chum Macaulay Culkin, as director John Landis found out during the shooting of the Dangerous video.
Just slowly, pull it straight up. Higher, please, higher. Okay, okay. It's a wrap, thank you!
I knew that Mac and Mike were up to something. I was very taken aback by how elaborate it was.
He's going to hit John with the first part.
John.
Where's Mac? That's very dangerous to me.
In appreciation for working on the black or white short film,
Yeah.
we'd like to say thank you, and we love you, and we think
And
you've
John?
done
And
a
John?
wonderful job.
Yeah. John?
Because
What,
every,
Mac?
John.
Yes?
every time...
That's his character. He's just fun. You know, he's constant fun.
And there was more larking about during the making of Thriller.
This is Michael Jackson. This is Michael Jackson's foot. Now, what very few people know, Michael Jackson is extremely ticklish. Okay, watch. Foot, Michael. What? No, watch. No, Michael, hold still. Watch.
No!
you did that yesterday.
That's all.
Now, as we all know, Michael is adored by legions of fans worldwide, and his websites on the internet are also a way for Jacko fans to heal the world and come together.
Well, I live in Indiana, where he was born, right in the next town, so I heard his music since I was little. I love it. And it gets better every year.
We all met through the Internet Fan Club, Michael Jackson Internet Fan Club. That's how we met. Yeah, we all got together and came here.
I traveled all around the world for Michael Jackson. I want to see him everywhere in every country.
I followed Michael too during Dance Tour, did 30 concerts. And then from that time you don't take any holiday, you just work, 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 and you save up your money.
I've met him about 6 or 7 times in the lobby of the hotel, and I even met him in his room. Most people just scream and go like, "Oh, I love you," and I just try to have a normal conversation with him. You know, what normal people do.
A 38-year-old Green Bay, Wisconsin woman named Joan Marie Schaublin has legally changed her name to Michael Jackson. The new Michael is obviously a major fan of the megastar entertainer and says she sent him over 75 letters as well as her artwork. Schaublin told the Green Bay Press-Gazette that she did not change her name to get close to Michael Jackson, adding, quote, "There's a lot of wacky people out there." Indeed.
We would like to be going through the whole Eastern European tour if we could afford it, but we can't. We have to go home after the Budapest show.
So does it cost you, how much does it cost you to do this? It must be an incredible amount.
About $3,000 each, or over.
Well, what we did was we did yard sales and garage sales, and our friends helped us, and
we sold everything that wasn't nailed down.
Yeah.
The extent that fans will go to just to meet Michael is sometimes unbelievable.
We come up with some creative things, everything from being a waiter to being a maid to trying to come through the air conditioning ducts, but we catch them all.
The craziest scene on the road with Michael is probably to see how the fans react to him everywhere he goes. Standing outside the hotels, singing his songs all night long. I'm sure it drives him nuts, because it drives us nuts.
While the fans wait in anticipation for Michael's arrival, tempers can sometimes get frayed.
What's wrong with you? What? Don't you think he's human? What? Don't you think he's human? No, don't tell me to pick up. Don't tell me to pick up.
The pop star Michael Jackson is not the same as the person Michael Jackson. He is a fantasy figure, just as much as Peter Pan is. He performs a role called Michael Jackson.
He's turned himself into his greatest fantasy. He always wanted to be a pop star. He always wanted to be #1, and that's what he is.
Michael is also an enormous computer fanatic, but there's one program in particular that Michael takes a special interest in.
All the movement that's in there has been approved by Michael Jackson, and in fact he gave lots of hints and tips of what he wanted in the game. He throws his hat and it's a hat trick, and Michael suggested that. So he was very, very important to the development of the thing.
As if Michael Jackson wasn't already enormous! Accompanying him on his 1996 European History Tour, he took a towering 20-ton replica of himself. Now, erecting this enormous alter ego was often problematical, but even harder was getting the thing to the venue in the first place. Take a look at this.
Yeah, I thought the statue was awesome, actually, but yeah, there's a lot of criticism about it, but a great man like Michael Jackson, he's a #1 performer, of all time. He's larger than life.
I think what he should have had done on those history statues is to have some more plastic surgery on them, and then I think it would have been a better stunt. Imagine spending, £2 million on a statue because you didn't like the look of it, and you had to take it to the best cosmetic surgeon. I think that would have been more fun. Would have got more press.
It's difficult for us to really know whether the massive statues of himself are advertising or ego.
And for those that will never have the chance to adore their king in the flesh, they make do with the next best thing. Michael Jackson as Jesus? Well, in recent years, some critics have said he's trying to put forward a bit of a godlike image. One went so far as even to suggest that his video history had fascist overtones. Jarvis Cocker of the band Pulp felt so enraged by the whole thing, he made his feelings known in the 1996 Brits Awards ceremony.
You never live like common people. You never do what every common people do.
I don't think it ruined his performance, but I don't think that anyone should jump on a stage and try and ruin someone's performance.
And the stupid things that you do.
It just shows an act of jealousy.
Michael told me 2 years ago in an interview that he wishes that his public would evaluate him based on his performances and not based on his private life. Unfortunately, as I told Michael, that's never going to happen.
Michael's actually said himself, he doesn't see himself as Christ.
Well, I think he's trying to make us think about a Messiah, a Saviour, a Jesus figure. He's not necessarily saying that he wants to be it. He's trying to perform it and to get us thinking about salvation.
So what does the future hold for Michael Jackson? Will he live out the rest of his days as a heavyweight champ? Or will he merely be remembered as just the cutest member of the Jackson 5? I leave you with these thoughts.
He's the greatest performer of our day, and nobody on this planet is going to match him in my lifetime anyway.
I would rather forget the last couple of years of the whole Michael Jackson experience because they've not been good. They've been anything but good. They've tarnished his image and have turned a lot of people against him. I like to think of Michael as the consummate performer and the consummate entertainer.
In the next generation, Michael Jackson will be there written in gold.
He's the biggest pop star, whatever we may think about him. You know, he's been going since he was 5, 6 years old, 30 years really. And he's always kept at the top throughout. The one thing about him really is that he's very, very ambitious, even with all he's achieved. He's always wanted to be the #1 star.
I think Uncle Michael's had a lot of involvement. I mean, personally, I don't think we'd be to the level where we're at without him.
If he continues performing and he continues going on despite the fact that he seems to be surrounded by controversy, the public will eventually recognize his entertainment value today as opposed to the conflict in his personal life.
Burn!